Bono, U2's lead singer, has repeatedly assumed the role of Lucifer in his music, in, for example, the Fly character, which was an allusion to Beelzebub or the Lord of the Flies. After employing the persona of Beelzebub, the prince of demons, Bono would then later employ the character of Mephisto. During the Zoo TV tour, Bono revealed his new satanic persona in Mephisto as he proudly pranced around the stage with satanic horns upon his head. Bono stated that Mephisto is an extension of his Fly persona. The concept of Mephisto was taken from a German film by a similar name. U2 make it clear as to just what God they are serving in songs like God's Country, when they declare, quote, "I stand with the sons of Cain."
But it don't spot with a smoke lot, fleeing the murder scene. You know me well for night, bands of the lonely sound. My only hell was since when y'all niggas know me to fail. Fuck out, we all my niggas with the purple prince. Trust shot, and if you with me, mama, rubber your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks.
If you look at Jay-Z, when he throws up what he says is the diamond for the rock symbol, and you see that it is the shape of a triangle, okay? Yeah. That is not a diamond symbol. That is, to the profane, as they would say, a diamond symbol. But he can get a concert and have 25,000 people throw up this rock signal, and you're looking at it thinking, oh, it's just a joke. But when he plays at Glastonbury on a stage that is a pyramid, basically, okay, when this gentleman says certain things in his music like, I'm so illuminated, I may glow in the dark, and then his understudy, Kanye West, turns around and takes, if you also look at photos, there's a photo of him and Jay-Z, and actually if you look at the handshake that he gets, he has the apprentice grip that a mason would give to an apprentice. Jay-Z gave to Kanye because Kanye had not made it yet to the next levels. Yeah. But in front of the millions of people who'll do these things and no one sees it.
We Rockefeller. We Rockefeller.
Rockefeller? Rockefeller is actually a derivation of Rockefeller. Rockefeller is the surname of one of the wealthiest families on planet Earth. The Rockefeller dynasty wields great power over global financial markets and has enormous influence on world politics. They are in fact globalists and are proponents of what has been termed by many as the One World Order, or the New World Order.
There is always, it seems, something about to blow up around Madonna, which brings us to the latest controversy. her new documentary, I'm going to tell you a secret. Clearly, her belief in Kabbalah, the study of Jewish mysticism, has deeply affected her. Is the young woman who once so publicly rejected the Catholic faith of her childhood now Jewish? You attend Jewish services now.
Well, that's what some people think. I don't attend Jewish services.
Straighten us out.
Well, I hear the Torah, but I'm not Jewish, and nor have I converted to Judaism. I think I'm connecting to something that predates religion.
Look at the Kabbalah. It's a system of sorcery, witchcraft, and magic. But Kabbalah comes really, literally, all the way back from Babylon.
Yes.
And it was Babylonian magic of the worst kind. Madonna may have got into it because she likes the magic. She thinks she can get miracles from it.
Right.
She can enhance her power.
Well, she raised to the top.
Yeah, she can be like a witch who can charm the world and bring enchantment. Yeah, she has raised to the top by worshiping, I think, nothing but Lucifer.
The one eye is the sun god, Re.
I'm closer to the golden dawn. The musting crowler's uniform of imagery.
While visiting Egypt in 1904, Crowley's first wife, Rose, began going into spontaneous trances, muttering things like, "They are waiting for you," and "He who was waiting was Horus." Intrigued, Crowley and Rose went to visit the Cairo Museum. From a distance she spied a glass case and exclaimed, there he is." Upon inspection, The case did contain an image of Horus painted on a wooden stele, but what particularly stunned Crowley was its exhibit number, 666, his number, the number of the beast. Convinced now that something supernatural was happening, Crowley went back to his hotel and performed a ritual, summoning this higher power. Over 3 successive days, beginning on April 8th, the book was channeled through Crowley while in a trance. And the content of this revelation? I am the snake that giveth knowledge, the Spirit said. To worship me take wine and strange drugs, whereof I will tell my prophet. This snake spirit begins the revelation by telling man that he is a god, that reality is essentially an illusion, sin a myth, and that ethically there's no greater commandment than the law of Thelema, Greek for will, as famously stated in the 40th verse of chapter 1.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Do what I want any old time.
What you wanna do? Whatever you choose.
It's my life, and I'll do what I want. It's my life, and I'll do what I want. Do what you wanna do, what you wanna do, and try hard to live your life. Live life.
And I need to do what I feel like doing. So let me go.
Do what you wanna do. Go out and seek your truth.
I'll do what I want.
Do what you want. Go on, do what you want.
Do what I want, guess I can, and if I don't, because I wanna.
Do what you will make it from. Hold up your life.
Do anything you wanna do.
Do what you want.
Do it, boy. Do what you wanna do.
You can do what you wanna do.
Do what you wanna.
Do what you wanna do.
Do what you must. Trust your heart. Let fate decide to guide these lives we see.
Why second guess what feels so right? Let's trust your heart. Can you see the light?
To your heart. You must be to your heart.
Trust your heart.
Follow your heart. Oh, nothing else.
I have come this far with the truth of the heart.
Soul and world can fall apart. You'll be okay. Follow your heart. Let your heart lead your mind.
Trust your heart.
Listen to your heart and what it says. Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart, my friend. That will be the return to yourself. Don't care what you say. Just follow your heart.
Even the very word music suggests this spiritual dimension. Its etymological root, muse, is the name of the spirit beings, daughters of Zeus, who the ancient Greeks felt were responsible for the inspiration of all art. Over 3,000 years later, this connection between muses, or spirits, and music hasn't just survived, it's thrived. The world of popular music virtually teems with artists who believe they are channelers for spiritual forces, guiding lights to the undiscovered of our subconscious. Often these spirits are credited with helping inspire or even compose a particular song. John Lennon, for example, has stated, "When the real music comes to me, it has nothing to do with me, because I'm just a channel. It's given to me, and I transcribe it like a channel."
Within the band said there is a fifth member, a mystical member, yeah. We've always said there's something looking over us.
And the only way that I can describe that, probably in its best, the best way for me is that when we were playing our first songs together, and especially our first the first 3 albums, for instance, we would literally show up in a room, and it was almost as if the songs were already written. That's why I like to call Black Sabbath a phenomenon. Rather than a band. Although it is a rock and roll band, there's a phenomena involved there where that stuff just comes from somewhere, and it just so happened that we happen to be the ones that it came to.
I'm very, very aware that when I write a good song, I'm just acting as like a messenger. It comes from a higher source. You know, I'm not so egotistical that I think that I've done this all on my own. I'm very, very aware there's a higher source sort of guiding me through this, and I'm just acting as a messenger.
A lot of the songs are written in about 15 minutes to 45 minutes, just really quickly. Glenn and I in the room, very stream of consciousness, as though, many times we felt as though it was being channeled through us.
Later in life, Elvis would acknowledge that the strange powers that he'd wielded over his audiences were occultic powers that he'd received from the spirit world. Elvis, as a child, believed that he was being guided by the voice of his brother Jesse, who had died at birth, but later admitted that he was being used by a hierarchy of spirit beings. His close friend Larry Geller wrote that Elvis believed that he was working under the aegis of these masters, that they had helped him. Elvis admitted, "I always felt an unseen hand behind me. I heard that same voice and thought it was my brother. That's what I thought. I heard this guidance, guiding me all my life. That's why I'm here and why I'm doing this. This didn't just happen. This wasn't mere happenstance." Author Gary Herman stated that Elvis, quote, recognized the devil's part in his success.
My middle name is misery. Well, I'm evil, so don't you mess around.
Now, there's a few different ways to look at backwards masking, and there's different types of what people call backwards masking. I'm not talking really about backwards masking, I'm talking really about backwards messages. In fact, one way to do it, which wouldn't require demons or higher intelligences to intercede, would be just to take straight words, take 7 or 8 words in a song, and reverse them. And then when you played it backwards, you would hear those words. But when you heard it forwards, what would you hear? You'd hear something backwards. It wouldn't make sense.
Murder, murder, Jesus.
So when people talk about how backwards masking is done in the studio, yeah, that kind of backwards masking is done in the studio. No problem. That's not what we're talking about.
We're talking about when you hear music and lyrics forward, and then you hear those same lyrics backwards, and it's a message forward, and those same words are a message backwards. Okay? And we're not talking about 1 or 2 words. We're talking about sometimes over 15 words straight. We're talking on Stairway to Heaven right around 30 words. Okay? And we're not only talking about that, we're talking about a song that wasn't engineered to be heard backwards, but came right from the spirit world automatically. Okay? And then we're talking about, if you wanted to make lyrics backwards on a song, you're going to mess up that song forward pretty bad, right? Well, Stairway to Heaven is the most popular song in rock and roll.
There's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone now. It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen. Yes, there are 2 paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. Jeszcze mais dois treinos. All of it up high, boy, great fish that push now and say. You give the road, you say. And all of him with more shame, I need a self-less and
Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant felt that their most popular song, Stairway to Heaven, was given in much the same way. I was holding a paper and pencil. Then all of a sudden my hand was writing out words. There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven.
and she's buying the stairway to heaven.
I just sat there and looked at the words, and then I almost leapt out of my seat.
And it makes me wonder.
Page's fascination with Crowley led many to believe he was into black magic himself.
I think he was absolutely fascinated with the man and the knowledge of the will. I mean, he owned a lot of manuscripts, and he bought the Inverness Castle. That was also Crowley's. And I think with it, he had purchased a lot of manuscripts. And at one point, he had a bookstore in English, an occult bookstore.
In an interview with Rolling Stone, Santana was more specific concerning the identity of this supernatural entity, identifying him as Metatron, the architect of physical life. His personal studio, a place he calls church, features candles, the word Metatron spelled out in intricately painted picture letters on the floor, and a yellow legal pad Santana uses to record the spirit's messages when they come to him like a fax machine.
Now, one of the closest friends that I got during that time that I obtained was a man named David Crosby. Crosby, Still, Nash & Young. I saw David the day before Christmas last year, talked with him. I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood, and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store, and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, now I'll have to explain some of this when I'm done. You're not going to understand it all unless you know something about music. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the Coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I said, okay, one last thing. I've been hearing that you must be an initiated witch now to get a record contract. He said, that's right. He says, many of us that weren't total witches have to be witches now in order to produce music. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master's cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar, setting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master. If that's too hard for you to believe, I'm sorry. That's why they do it.
And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Hailed as one of history's Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a Freemason himself, composed a symphony, which was an open display of Freemasonry. The symphony is based on a story taken from Egyptian mythology of Isis and Osiris. The pagan rites of ancient Egyptian mythology form, through the Kabbalah, one of the fundamental aspects of Freemasonry.
It is hard to overestimate the impact that the Beatles had on the world at large, as youth by the millions were given a form of emotional shock treatment.
They influenced everything that I've ever done. I even remember, growing up hearing Beatles songs, and all their songs are timeless.
They built the structure for rock and roll.
Beatles actually were bringing everybody along with them on their voyage of their discovery.
Beatles went out and took the world by storm. I grew up with them.
They helped us grow up. They got me arrested 3 or 4 times.
I think they did a lot for society. Those songs are in my memory banks, so I think they're actually my genetic material.
All-time favorite musical group?
Beatles.
Beatles.
When you go back and listen to Sgt. Pepper's, they were brilliant.
Sgt. Pepper changed the world.
You notice that, again, there's an audience that is there. Ringo Starr made a statement about it. He said that they are people that they highly admired and respected. And that in the upper left-hand corner, you notice there's a bald-headed man. That man just so happens to be a guy named Aleister Crowley.
The Beatles also placed a picture of occultist William Burroughs, who claimed to have become demon-possessed after killing his wife on the Sgt. Pepper's album. Also making the cast was the most popular starlet of the 1960s, Jane Mansfield. Mansfield was a high priestess in Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. Mansfield admitted to using her Satanism to both seduce and gain worldwide fame. The Beatles also placed a slew of Eastern gurus on the album. Incredibly, one of the people who was to be pictured on the album as part of the Beatles Club was none other than Adolf Hitler. Hitler was yanked presumably because he was considered too controversial to appear on the album. Hitler's picture can be seen on the sidelines just prior to the shooting of the album cover. It has been well documented that Nazism was rooted in the occultic teachings of Madame Blavatsky and others. Aleister Crowley claimed that Hitler was his disciple and was seeking to implement the teachings of the Book of the Law through his policies of the triumph of the will. And of course, as we have noted on the top left, we find the picture of none other than Aleister Crowley.
n'oubliez pas de vous abonner à notre chaîne YouTube Jésus-Christ TV, en cliquant sur le bouton s'abonner, juste au bas de la fenêtre de cette vidéo. Ainsi, vous recevrez automatiquement nos nouvelles vidéos, et vous ne raterez aucune. Vous connaîtrez la vérité et la vérité vous affranchira. Jean 8, 32.
Jésus-Christ TV, vous connaîtrez la vérité et la vérité vous affranchira.